Hello, I'm James Donald Forbes McCann, and welcome to episode 0 of the James Donald Forbes McCann Catamaran Plan. It's the episode where I didn't know there would be a James Donald Forbes McCann Catamaran Plan when we started recording. We had been recording a previous podcast, we of course being myself, Peter James and Jake Smith. I was in Brisbane a couple of weeks ago for this, and we'd recorded their podcast, Smut Club 1990. And I said, just leave those mics on. Let's keep going. Let's see what happens, you know? Let's riff. And what happened next was a little bit magical, a little bit chaotic, a little bit all over the shop, but the end result was something truly sensational, the genesis of the JDFM CP. It was a little like, I don't know if you're watching the Get Back documentary of the Beatles, where Paul's just sort of just strumming away, and then, George is yawning, and John hasn't even shown up. And this goes on for a minute, 2 minutes, you know, and then all of a sudden you go, my goodness, he's playing Get Back. This is the chaos that led to a man having Get Back, which is very exciting, of course. And I think, really, that's what this episode is for the James Donald Forbes McCann. And if you enjoy listening to this so much that you say to yourself, gee, I'd like to give some money towards the catamaran that these boys seem to have a glint of in their eye, you can. We've got the James Donald Forbes McCann Catamaran Plan Patreon. You can sign up to that. So without any further ado, please enjoy episode 0. Welcome to the James Donald Forbes McCann podcast, the first episode of that podcast. I'm joined by Jake Smith.
Hello.
And Peter James.
Hello.
And this is the first one of these podcasts. Thank you to, if you've been listening to the Smut Club podcast, then you might have been directed over here. And I've just thought the machines are all here. We've got all the microphones, and why not begin the podcast now so we can start monetizing that sweet audio stream. Today on the show, I have, how many? I have 7. I have 7 ideas for movies, and I'd like to talk them out with these two lovely boys and see what we think of them.
Fantastic.
There's no order. There's no rhyme or reason, I've decided, to the James Donald Forbes McCann podcast. It's just, you know.
I don't think there's a rhyme or reason to the James Donald Forbes McCann life.
No, how dare you. Everything's very ordered and very
Fucking
structured.
absolute chaos you are.
I don't believe in having order, I think. Well, let's slip her in, for example. This poor dog's been locked out for the whole other podcast.
Oh,
I don't mind
like
a doggy running around here. Hello, Slipper. You're a good girl. You're a good girl.
We should take that muzzle off and untie her legs.
There you are. Now, Slipper's here. Let's just take a moment before we begin. It's the James Donald Forbes McCann Dancers. I'll put in a little song.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And then it will come back. Wow, wonderful. Great stuff, ladies. Beautiful gear. Are we recording the video for this?
I haven't started. No, we can.
Oh, well, no, don't worry about it now. Ladies, we'll get you next time on the show. Here are my ideas for movies. Number 1, a man enters his pug in a race at the dog track where it competes against greyhounds. The pug is actually very fast, though. And we follow the pug's career. Hilarity ensues, and we learn that diversity makes us stronger.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
I think, is it supposed to be humorous that he's a pug?
I haven't decided which direction we're going.
Because I think it would be very funny if he's in the horse races.
Oh, is it? Well, what if he's in the trot?
I'd love if the
He's
pug
in a
wins the
chariot.
Melbourne Cup. That would be very funny. Pug wins Melbourne Cup.
Melbourne Cup. I'll write that down.
And when he trips over, his legs don't break because they're so short.
That's quite good.
But then he does a
That's
sneeze.
how he wins.
He does a sneeze and his eyeballs explode out of his head. But I just always like, do you have to have... Is there a breed of dog in greyhound racing, or is that just the best one they've figured out so far?
What do you mean, is there a breed of dog in greyhound racing? You just fucking...
No, but is it actually greyhound racing, or is it like dog racing? And they go...
Is it
"It's
exclusively a greyhound game?
Right, okay.
Like
well,
if you came along with a greyhound / I don't know, Doberman combo, and it was just real good at the 400 metres.
Are we allowed to-
Doberman a dog?
Yeah, Doberman's a dog. Are we allowed to Google?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
encouraged on the James Donald Forbes McCann podcast. Where there are
Hey,
no
Jamie,
rules.
pull that up.
All right. Are there other dogs?
Because the greyhound is the most streamlined physical dog I could think of. I can't think of another dog that's that skinny, that long.
No, I think they're built for it.
Yeah,
But
they're
could you build
perfect.
them even more for it? You know?
You could put a jetpack on one, I'm sure.
It's hard to breed for a jetpack. You just have
Yeah,
to
you
start.
just make a greyhound fuck a jetpack. And then you got a jetpack dog.
Um,
I think we're onto a winner.
dog racing. No.
Is
No,
there any rule? It doesn't have to be a greyhound?
no, I think you can race German shepherds.
Right, so if you were like, I'm just
gonna-
feeling the pug today.
I don't
he's
think there's
turbo.
interbreed
Yeah, it's so
racing.
Great.
Oh,
That's
it
so
has to
great.
be pure. Has to be
Oh.
pure one breed.
It does have
No,
to
it's
be
I think it's only really. Look, there's probably dog racing in some backwards failed states
They do
somewhere in the
cane-toad
world.
racing in Cairns.
I think, do they really?
Yeah, in the far north there are certain pubs that'll do cane-toad racing.
But I think if with dog racing, if you're in a place where there's not enough structure to have just the one kind of dog racing, then you probably are doing dog fighting. You know?
Yeah.
Because you need that sort of level of excitement. Number 2, a gifted English teacher at a school for underprivileged children sparks their love for literature. He does his job too well. The students become highbrow and they all become deeply unhappy nihilists. 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 You know, like they're wearing turtlenecks, committing suicide. Thoughts?
Who? It's a very
What's
Robin.
the movie? What's the movie where they say, "Oh, Captain, my Captain"?
Uh,
Master and
Dead-
Commander.
Dead Poets Society.
Dead Poets Society.
Yeah. Oh,
Is
of
that
course.
set-
Well, actually, that's true. Oh shit. Oh, they have because the boy kills himself, doesn't he? Because he's not allowed to act.
Spoiler alert. I've never seen
sorry,
that.
sorry.
I've never seen that film. That's got Robin Williams in it?
It's just you don't have to enunciate that much when you say film.
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 Don't
Yes,
like
and the
that.
boys
say
try
film?
and get girls
Film.
to come to the school.
No, film.
Shut the fuck up, dude.
Shut the fuck up.
No, let's abandon this. How long has this podcast been going
It's
for?
been going for 5 minutes.
Well, that's episode 1 of the James Donald Forbes McCann. I think keep them right, keep them tight. You don't think so?
What is in your head?
How does one start? You know, how do you have an idea that you feel strongly enough about to say we're doing this week after week after? I mean, that just seems exhausting. I know you found some pornos and you chat about that, but like, to commit to one thing other than a family and a marriage and a God, it just seems like so hard.
Well, is this? So, were you gonna just pitch film ideas?
Well,
every
no,
week?
that was just what was open on my laptop, and I
Why-
thought, fuck,
why-
maybe that's the podcast.
Why?
I've
No.
never
Why
known.
isn't your? How about this? An idea for your podcast?
Yeah.
Your podcast is. I don't know what my fucking podcast is about.
That's so meta.
I know. No,
So
but,
meta.
but
I want bricklayers to be listening to the show. After a long day of making Scotty Cam happy on the block,
you
they come
think-
home and they go, let's listen to James Donald Forbes McCann.
do
They
you
huddle around the
think
wireless.
you have any blue collar appeal? You're the
I mean,
strangest.
he quite literally does today. He's got a
Yeah,
blue
he
collar
does, blue
on.
collar.
You need to really lean in to these people that like you.
Well, who has? I mean, for one to not have blue collar appeal is for one to be a degenerate.
What you just
Just to
said.
have a
Yes.
highbrow, hoity-toity
Yep.
ridiculousness.
Yep.
I think really the people, as much as I mock that, and I did a little sketch about it, I really think you have to connect with the broad, teeming, pulsating, unwashed masses. But that is also how I see them. So I can see that they wouldn't like that.
Right.
But maybe,
Well, maybe
they
that's
know themselves.
maybe that's what maybe the podcast is called The People. James Donald Forbes McCann, and it's you.
I could be versus the people. I could do a legal podcast. I could wear a little hat. What are they? The wigs?
What do you mean the little hat?
You know, the little.
Oh, you know, at
little
law we
judge.
wear the little hats. I think you're confusing a courtroom with a synagogue.
Fuck, I just hate everything. I'm just in a fucking pit of despair permanently. I don't know how to do it. How do people do a podcast? Fucking mic cover on fucking bullshit. Fuck, I've been away for too long. It's fucking ridiculous. Well, we'll pop this on YouTube. We'll see how it goes. Episode 1, the James Donald Forbes McCann. What do you think?
You gotta.
You think I need? Maybe I need someone to drive the show.
Yes.
Like before, when we did your podcast, that was fine.
You need a
You
straight
thought-
man.
you
This is
thought-
why Jake shouldn't be on it. Yeah, I think you need a. Who's got a? What's a
So-
show that has like a very like there's a clear.
Me in Car Crash.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like that people would know.
You fucking asshole. You
Andy
fucking
Lee.
arsehole.
I need an Andy Lee. Can we
Who's-
get Andy Lee?
Andy Lee won't. Are you asking me as your manager?
Yeah, do you know Andy Lee?
Not personally. I
He
could
knows
get
a guy named Andy Lee.
Julian Barrett. Do you know Julian Barrett?
from the Mighty Boosh.
Yeah, I think he'd be pretty good.
I'll see if one half of the Mighty
Thank
Boosh
you.
is available.
What about Bert Newton? He was always very good when he was on the
Oh,
Graham
we
Kennedy.
have
Did
some.
you get a
Sorry,
Bert
mate.
Newton?
He's
We've got-
just signed a contract for the rest of his
He's
days.
just signed a contract
What
for
about
a brand
his
new set of
son?
angel wings.
What about his son? Do you reckon his son could come and do it?
Very controversial.
I like that when
Past.
Bert Newton died, all these people wrote
End
tweets.
sentence.
I was very sad when he died. But people went, I send out my condolences to Patty and his family. Because people can't quite bring themselves to name the son.
Why? Because they think they don't know the name,
No,
or because they don't want to.
It's some DV unpleasantness.
He is,
you know.
from what I can tell, a very mixed up individual.
His career's kept going,
Very-
though. He's kept directing. He's moved to America and he's still
Yeah.
making movies.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? Isn't it weird how you can hit a woman and still have a career in show business?
But
Like certain people in the Australian comedy scene. Isn't that fucking fascinating? That you can
Man,
do
I'm
you can do a
thankful.
naughty joke on a podcast and feel like your career's going to end, but gee, open up those fists on a lady's face and yeah, we'll still book you. Isn't that funny? Not you, obviously, but you know, someone. Is this too?
No.
Well, this has been the James Donald Forbes
No,
McCann
you
podcast
can't-
episode
no,
number
no,
one.
no,
You
don't,
gotta
no,
think.
stop him. Stop him.
Think. No, think. You've got to figure out what this is going to be. You got to take time. This doesn't
James
have to be-
Donald-
This doesn't have to go public, but you can listen back to this and go,
Oh,
"Oh,
this,
that was a
this
moment."
could be on the
of-
Patreon.
Libel, the podcast.
No, I didn't say anyone's name. If anyone could identify themselves from that, then
What was that? Do you ever remember reading about that? The small, it was called like the small penis clause or something like that, or some kind of thing.
No.
where it
That'd
was-
be a
do you know
terrible
what I'm saying? It was. It's like where there was two.
that's very good. That's very good. I appreciate
Hey,
it.
high fives for that one.
Nice.
Okay, so the
man.
small
You wanna-
penis.
you wanna
Yeah,
get it out?
all right.
Yeah, boom.
It was something like the small penis defense or something like that. Use it many times. Where they'd write a character and they'd say, right, this character's called James McCann,
Yep.
and he'd say he's a heavy set, redhead, bespectacled, fucking,
Yes, I see.
and it'd describe you to a T.
Yeah,
And they'd say, and he'd have a very small penis, and then people would be like,
it's not me.
well, that's not me. I have to look it up. I remember reading about this.
The small penis clause.
It's something like
I have another suggestion. I think quite possibly you already have
a small
a
penis.
great tiny little dick.
I'm
you
doing
idiot.
absolutely fine in that.
No. The
Believe me, there's no problem. Believe me.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what
sure.
Trump would always say.
You're doing the hand, outward facing hand.
Does that not come across on the podcast? Please go on. Please, I don't want to.
I think quite possibly you have an idea already that is very good that could translate to a podcast that
Yes.
involves a straight man.
Yeah.
That is very much in the world of what I think you're good at.
Devil's Advocate.
Devil's
show.
Advocate,
No,
the
see,
podcast.
Hold on, I'll say why not in a second.
The small
Well,
penis
I think
rule.
at least. The small
Why?
penis rule.
It's an informal strategy used by authors to evade libel lawsuits. It was described in a New York Times article by Denisha Smith in 1998. For a fictional portrait to be actionable, it must be so accurate that a reader of the book would have no problem linking the two, said Mr. Friedman. Thus, he continued, libel lawyers have what is known as the small penis rule. One way authors can protect themselves from libel suits is to say that a character has a small penis, Mr. Friedman said.
Hold on, wait.
Now, no male
Wait.
is going to come forward and say, that character with a very small penis, that's me.
It's very
How about the podcast is James Donald Forbes McCann, the small penis rule.
I know what the podcast is now. Keep that up. Keep that up, please. I think I can do it.
Please say why you wouldn't do Devil's Advocate as a podcast as well.
Because I think irony is a prison. And I think the good thing about your show and the way in which it is both easier and superior to
Do
the
you
one I
mean-
was doing, the Shad and Pete Save the
Oh, yeah,
World,
yeah.
is you're taking things that are actually problems for people and then you can genuinely solve. Not all, like you have fun, but the point of it is you come to me with something that's hard for you and we'll make your life better. And that's a very wholesome cycle, right? Like the premise of the show is basically we can help people. And the Devil's Advocate thing premise, and I always feel like alone and weird afterwards, is like, give me a genuinely bad thing and I will warp truth until that, which is, bad things are good and good things are bad,
Yeah.
to paraphrase a local comedian. And, which is like,
No, bad things are bad, good things are
bad
good.
things bad, good things are only paraphrasing.
Who was that again?
I think it was...
It was somebody said.
So I do an impression of very small penis.
Oh, yeah.
But I think I want to do something that is ennobling in some way and not ironical.
But wouldn't because you know there's like that thing in stand up, and I think you do this a lot where you have like you have like an outlandish position on something and justify it.
Yes.
Isn't it just sort
But
of
if
in that
that's the
same
truth,
vein?
if that's a real, like when I go, condoms should be illegal. It sounds outlandish and crazy, but I really, genuinely, you give me executive power, condoms are going away. That's where I'm at. And I can explain, that's sort of nice because it's taking people to where you are. But to take people to some weird, strange location, it's all just castles in the air and fucking academic.
The Venn diagram for
Unpleasant
like
truths.
our beliefs, just there's a very small
Overlaps right on condoms
should
need
be
to go
illegal.
away.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
literally my entry point. That's
But
how I stealthily, winky winky.
That's how you get the handshake
over.
between the left and the right. Just there you go. I think we can all agree on that. That's what the message we're sending out to our
Rapists
kids.
and papists. Condoms are no good.
There's the title.
There we go.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and, scoundrels and whores, to this episode of the James Donald Forbes McCann presented podcast, Stuff You Should Not Know, where we go down Wikipedia wormholes that we've found and we excavate the excellence within. Today on the show, the wonderful Jake Smith is with us.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Also in the room, Peter James.
Hello.
Now, we were having a conversation just now about something I had never heard before. Jake, it's called, what is it? It's called the
Small penis rule.
small penis rule, or the small penis clause.
That would be a bad Christmas. Ha ha ha. Like we said on that other time we tried to record this.
We're replicating a bit from before because the previous part of this podcast has just been chit-chatting and having a good time. But then I was saying, what could the podcast be? And now I know what the podcast is. The podcast is Wikipedia wormholes, stuff you should not know, stuff that you've gone and you've... Do go on is basically that though, isn't it?
This is a very done idea.
Well,
Yeah,
fuck it then. Fuck it. It's all fucking bullshit. Fuck it. Fuck it. It's over. Fuck. Everything reasonable has been done. Everything undone is disfigured and haunting and grotesque. Fuck. Anyway, this is the show, this chat that we're having now.
Is all of what's just happened?
Yeah.
and you say you don't want to be meta.
From
I don't
start
believe
to
in meta.
finished.
This is real. This is a raw human big dick feeling. I'm including the podcast we did earlier as part of my podcast. It's a podcast that goes for a long time. Are we having a good time, or is
I'm
this
having
a hostage
great
situation?
No. This is great, but I do.
We must be
Something
cracking
about,
on.
no, but this is what's weird. This is what's weird about this. Whatever this is, feels like it's in the realm of what it should be.
Yes.
There's a mania to all of this.
Yeah.
And by all of this, I mean you as a person.
You are a fucking
that
nightmare
needs
to
to
be
be
around.
replicated. If
That's-
you would have a podcast,
you're right.
this is what you're having.
That's what I'm fine, but but it does need some anchor.
Finding your feet. Finding some James Donald Forbes McCann finds himself.
I know,
Some-
but I found myself.
Okay,
I've got
well,
to
find
have
your
other
fucking
people find
podcast.
me. Yeah, finding a podcast, finding Forrester,
Subaru
finding
Forester.
Atlantis, Forrest Gump, Forrest Whitaker,
Do the eye.
Forest for the Trees.
Would you want? Okay, this is a good. Maybe because there's like I think there are the two schools of podcasts, like comedy wise. I think
Yeah.
it's like there's a goal we're trying to achieve,
Yes.
or there's just an ongoing sort of community we're trying to create. What do you
Yeah.
want to have? Goal or like just an ongoing thing that there
I
is no
want
ending.
a catamaran. I want enough money to buy a catamaran.
Okay,
All
well-
I think about every day is my catamaran.
We'll turn the mics
I want to
off.
move my family onto a catamaran, and this is the mechanism for doing it. That's the podcast.
actually-
And the podcast is called You Are My Catamaran. You can join the Patreon, listen to the secret episodes, buy the merchandise. Everything goes towards the James Donald Forbes McCann Catamaran. There we go. Hold on.
That's it.
The James Donald Forbes McCann Catamaran Plan. Yes. Yes.
Congratulations.
Oh my God.
Handshake.
Okay, all right.
Donald Forbes McCann
McCann's
Catamaran plan.
Now, hold on. Sit down, boys. Sit down.
all right. We
Everything beforehand is the first Patreon episode for the James Donald Forbes McCann Catamaran.
No,
that's
this
it.
is
now-
End it. This is
No,
the
this
ending.
is episode 1.
No,
It's done.
no. You've just found it.
That's the ending. Shut up.
You think that's the
Shut
show?
up.
No, we are now. This is so raw. You
This
literally.
was the first episode. Everything that was.
But
just
I'm ready
the
to
first
start
episode.
going now.
Yeah, we'll go to episode
All right,
2.
that's the end of episode 1, everybody. Tune in to the next episode of the James Donald Forbes
Wait,
McCann Catamaran
But
Plan.
what is? Yeah. So what's now you've
Yeah.
got it. So what is it? So it's
It's
your
just a
plan.
podcast that we try and make successful enough.
And everything that the money from it, all of it goes into.
Catamaran.
It's the most unhinged shit ever.
All I do is think about the catamaran. Well, people will hear more about that on episode 2.
Yeah, which will probably be recorded
Immediately.
no.
You'll notice that these
At
first 2
another-
are coming out at the same time. Stop that. Let's start the next one. Stop it.